She thought she'd lost everything, her husband, her peace, even her home. But when her daughter sold the cabin without warning, Margaret Klein discovered a secret hidden beneath the floorboards that would change both their lives forever. Before we dive into the full story, tell me in the comments, where are you listening from tonight? Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more heart-touching stories just like this one. Now, sit back and imagine the sound of Lake Michigan at dusk, and let's begin. It was late autumn when the lake began to whisper again. I could hear it from my porch, the slow, endless hum of waves kissing the rocks below, a rhythm I'd known for 50 years. My name is Margaret Klein, and at 72, I've learned that silence can carry both peace and pain. Especially when it echoes through an empty cabin. The porch light flickered as the wind picked up. A gull cried out somewhere in the distance, its wings slicing through the gray Wisconsin sky. The air smelled of pine, damp leaves, and the faint sweetness of burnt wood from someone's far-off chimney. I wrapped my shawl tighter and rocked slowly in Tom's old chair, the same one he built with his hands before his final fishing trip. Tom Klein, my husband of 47 years, my best friend, my calm after every storm. He'd been gone a year now, swallowed by the same lake he loved. They said it was a storm that his boat capsized. But sometimes, late at night, I still imagine hearing his laughter over the water. "Maggie," he'd call, "the lake's calm today. Come sit with me." Now only the wind answers. I looked down at the phone in my lap. A new message glowed on the screen. It was from Lisa, my only daughter, my pride, my headache, my heart. "Sold your cabin and boat, Mom. We're moving to LA for my acting career. Use the money for a nursing home." The words didn't register at first. My thumb hovered over the screen, trembling. Sold my cabin, our boat. The air around me thickened. My heart began to pound in my ears. I could almost hear Tom's voice again, softer this time. "Don't let her take the lake from you, Maggie." But she already had. I stood slowly, the wooden planks creaking beneath my feet. The cabin's door, painted blue decades ago, looked dull under the dying light. Inside, the air smelled like cedar and thyme, the scent of old quilts, fishing hooks, and morning coffee. Every corner of that cabin held a memory. Lisa's first drawing tacked to the fridge, Tom's boots by the door, still dusted with lake sand. The photo of us by the pier, smiling into the sunlight. I pressed my palm to the table where Tom used to clean his fish. The wood was rough, uneven, but solid like him. "You'd have known what to say," I whispered. "You'd have known how to stop her." The phone buzzed again, another message. "Don't be mad, Mom. You'll love LA or the home I picked for you. It's got a garden and nurses who actually care." I didn't reply. Instead, I walked to the cabinet near the window, the one Tom always kept locked. I'd never opened it. He said it was for paperwork, though I'd always found that strange. Tom wasn't a paperwork kind of man. The key still hung on the nail by the clock. My hand shook as I turned it. Inside were old tackle boxes, fishing reels, a few yellowed envelopes, and beneath them something wrapped in an oilcloth. I lifted it out gently. The cloth smelled faintly of metal and dust. When I unwrapped it, there was a wooden box. Simple, carved with our initials, T and M, and the year 1974. Inside, there were papers, some old stock certificates, a few letters, and a note in Tom's handwriting. "Maggie, if you're reading this, then the lake has taken me home. I've left you something, not because of money, but because I know you'll need strength when you feel alone. These stocks, hold on to them. Don't tell Lisa yet. Let her learn the value of life before she learns the value of wealth. Love always, Tom." I froze. My eyes traced the certificates: North Shore Fishing Company, Lake Star Maritime, Michigan Fisheries Group. At first, they seemed worthless old paper from another era. But I remembered Tom mentioning once, half laughing, about how his old fishing partners went corporate. I'd thought he was joking, but as I stared at the names, something inside me stirred, a mix of disbelief and something dangerously close to hope. I sat down, clutching the box to my chest. $5 million, whispered a voice in my mind. Or maybe more. The next morning, Lisa called. Her voice was bright, a little too bright. "Hi, Mom, did you get my text? You okay?" I forced a smile she couldn't see. "I got it, Lisa." "Good, I know it's a lot, but trust me, LA will be great for both of us. My agent says I need to be close to auditions, and you'll love the home I found. I'm not leaving the cabin." Her pause on the other end was heavy. "Mom, we've already sold it." "You what? I told you last week I was putting it on the market. You said, we'll talk." "Well, we talked." "No, Lisa, you talked, I listened." The line went quiet. I could almost hear her breathing, fast, nervous. "Mom, please don't make this harder. You can't stay alone by the lake. It's dangerous. You need care." "What I need," I said quietly, "is my daughter's respect." She sighed, the kind of sigh that said she was done explaining. "The buyers will sign on Monday. I'll handle the paperwork. I love you, Mom. We'll talk later." The call ended. I sat there, gripping the phone, staring at Tom's box. Beneath the weight of betrayal and grief, something steadier began to rise, resolve. I wasn't leaving this cabin. Not yet. Not until I understood everything Tom had hidden. That night, I couldn't sleep. The moon spilled silver light across the lake, and the old dock creaked like it remembered his footsteps. I made myself tea and sat by the window. In the reflection, I saw my own face, tired eyes, white hair escaping its bun, the faint lines of a woman who'd spent a lifetime worrying about everyone but herself. Then, headlights appeared down the dirt road. A car. At this hour, I tensed. No one visited after dark except Tom, and he wasn't coming back. The car stopped outside, doors slammed. Then I heard voices, a man's and a woman. I peered through the curtain. It was Lisa, and a tall man in a suit, my stomach clenched. She hadn't said she was coming. A knock rattled the door. "Mom, it's me, open up." I hesitated, then unlocked it. The night air rushed in, cool and sharp. Lisa stepped inside in high heels, her perfume filling the small cabin. The man followed, slick hair, shiny shoes, and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Mom," Lisa began quickly, "this is Derek, my agent. He just wanted to make sure the place is in good condition before Monday." "In good condition," I repeated, my voice dry. "You mean before you hand it to strangers?" Derek chuckled. "Mrs. Klein, you'll love the folks buying it. A lovely couple from Milwaukee. Big fans of lakeside living." "Big fans of taking what isn't theirs," I murmured. Lisa winced. "Mom, please," she turned to Derek. "Can you wait outside? I need a minute." He nodded and stepped onto the porch. Lisa exhaled. "Mom, why are you being like this? This place is old. You deserve comfort." "Comfort doesn't come from shiny floors, Lisa." "Then what does it come from? Guilt, loneliness." Her eyes filled suddenly. "Dad's gone, Mom. He's gone. You can't live like a ghost waiting for him to walk through that door." Her words struck deep, not because they were wrong, but because they were true. Still, I stayed firm. "This cabin isn't a ghost, Lisa. It's our story. Every nail, every scar in this wood, it's what made us a family. You can't just sell that." She rubbed her temples, frustrated. "You always make it about the past. What about me? My career, my future?" I looked at her, really looked. She was 32, still chasing dreams that kept slipping away. dark circles under her eyes, a hint of desperation beneath the lipstick, and I thought of Tom's note again. Let her learn the value of life before wealth. I said softly, if you're moving to LA, Lisa, then move. But don't ask me to bury my life so you can build yours. Her eyes glistened. Fine, I hope the lake keeps you company, Mom, because soon it'll be all you have left. She walked out before I could answer. The car engine roared, then faded into the distance. I stood in the doorway, the cold biting at my face, the sound of the waves whispering their ancient secret that everything we love eventually leaves, but sometimes it comes back in ways we never expect. The next day, I went into town. The sign at the post office still squeaked, and old Harold behind the counter greeted me with his usual grin. Morning, Maggie. Haven't seen you in a while. Morning, Harold. I need to check something. He raised an eyebrow. What's that? Company records. You still have that old newspaper archive. Sure do. What are you digging into? My husband's fishing buddies. Lake Star Maritime, Michigan Fisheries Group. You ever heard of them? Harold whistled low. Heard of them? They're worth millions now. Got bought out by some Canadian firm a few years back. Why do you ask? I smiled faintly, just curious. That night, as rain lashed the windows, I lit the fireplace and opened Tom's box again. The crackle of flames mixed with the whisper of paper. I ran my fingers over his handwriting, feeling his presence in every curve of every letter. He'd hidden a fortune, not out of greed, but out of love, and now I understood why. He'd known Lisa's hunger for glamour could swallow her whole. He wanted her to grow before she inherited anything. I made my decision then. I would not tell her. Not yet. She needed to fall to break to learn what truly mattered. Only then would I give her the chance to rise again. Outside, thunder rolled across the lake like a warning. I looked out at the dark water and whispered, I'll protect her, Tom, even from herself. But I didn't know then. The storm that was coming would test that promise more than I could imagine. Because within days, Lisa would lose everything, her husband, her career, her money, and she would come back to this cabin, not as the woman who left, but as the daughter who needed to be saved. And when she did, she would finally discover the secret of the lake. Winter came early that year, sweeping across Wisconsin like an old ghost who'd forgotten how to knock. The lake froze along the edges, a thin crust of ice glittering beneath a pale sun. Each morning, I wrapped myself in Tom's coat and walked down to the dock, crunching through frost, listening to the ice crack under the weight of memory. 3 months had passed since Lisa sold the cabin, or thought she had. The buyers backed out after unforeseen property issues, as Harold from town later told me with a wink. Perhaps a whisper from an old friend in the county clerk's office had helped delay things. Or perhaps, I like to imagine, Tom had found a way to keep his home just a little longer. Either way, the cabin was mine for now. My refuge, my penance, my secret. But every evening I still checked my phone. No calls from Lisa, no updates. Just silence until one night near Christmas, a voicemail arrived. Her voice was slurred, shaky. Mom, I'm sorry I yelled. Things are not good here. Derek's gone. My show got canceled. The apartment lease ended. I just need some time to think. Then the line cut off. I sat at the kitchen table, the sound of her broken words echoing in my chest. Outside, snow fell softly, the kind that muffles the world and makes even sorrow sound gentle. I whispered, "Come home, Lisa." And 2 days later, she did. It was just after dawn when I saw a taxi struggling up the frozen road. The tires spun, snow spraying into the air. I stepped onto the porch, heart pounding. When the car finally stopped, the door opened slowly, and there she was, my daughter. Her long brown hair tangled, eyes hidden behind oversized sunglasses, carrying a single suitcase that looked too light to hold a life. She stood there, hesitant, as if the cabin itself might reject her. I managed a small smile. "You found your way back." Her voice cracked. "The GPS did most of the work." "Still can't give credit, can you?" I teased gently, trying to ease the air between us. She gave a short laugh, brittle, tired. Then her eyes filled. "Mom, I didn't know where else to go." That was all it took. I opened my arms. She collapsed into them, trembling like a child again. Her tears soaked through my coat, and all the anger I'd carried melted into something softer. Relief, forgiveness, love. When she finally pulled back, I saw the exhaustion in her face, the smudged makeup, the thinness of her cheeks. "You look like you've been running," I said quietly. "I have," she whispered, "and I don't even know from what anymore." Inside, the fire crackled as she sank onto the couch. I made cocoa, the real kind, with milk and cinnamon, the way she loved it as a girl. She cupped the mug with shaking hands. "LA was supposed to be my big chance," she said, "but after one commercial flopped, no one called. Derek took the rest of my savings and disappeared. And Ben." She stopped. "Ben," I asked. She took off her sunglasses. A small bruise marked her temple. "He said he needed space. Then I found out he'd been seeing someone else for months." Her voice broke. "I sold everything to follow him. Everything, Mom." For a moment, the only sound was the fire and the faint hiss of snow against the window. Then I said softly, "Sometimes God lets the wind blow away what we never needed." She looked up, eyes wet. "But what if he takes too much?" "Then maybe he's clearing room for something better." She stared at me a long time, then gave a weary half-smile. "You still sound like Dad." That was the first time she'd said his name without anger in years. Days passed, and the rhythm of the cabin began to heal us both. We cooked together, simple meals, soups and bread. Lisa helped me fix the leaky roof, her city hands blistering from the cold. At night, we'd sit by the fire and she'd tell me stories from LA, the fake smiles, the empty promises. I listened, not judging, just holding space for the woman she was becoming. One morning, as we shoveled snow, she said suddenly, "I applied for a job in town. The community shelter needs help with their winter drive." I looked at her surprised. "You, working at a shelter?" She shrugged. "It's not Broadway, but it's something. Maybe I need to learn what something means." I felt a quiet pride swell inside me. Tom would have smiled at that. But I said nothing, only handed her another shovel and let her find her own rhythm in the snow. Weeks turned to months. The lake thawed. Life returned: ducks, fishermen, the soft hum of spring wind through pine. And with it, something changed in Lisa. She began smiling again, real smiles this time. She came home with stories, not about fame, but about people. The old veteran who donated his only coat. The little boy who asked her to read stories during lunch breaks. One night, she sat across from me, eyes shining. "Mom, I met someone at the shelter." "Not like that," she laughed quickly. "He's the director. His name's Adam. He used to work in theater before he lost his sight in an accident. Now he helps kids put on plays." Her voice softened. "He said everyone deserves an audience, even if the world never claps for you." I smiled. Sounds like a man who sees more than most. She blushed. He asked me to help write their next play, me, can you imagine? I reached across the table, taking her hand. I can, and I think your father can too. That night, for the first time in years, Lisa sang softly as she cleaned the dishes. Her voice carried through the cabin, blending with the whisper of the lake outside. It was like hearing light again. But happiness, as I've learned, is a fragile guest. It doesn't knock before it leaves. One afternoon, Lisa returned from town, her expression tight. "Mom, can we talk?" I nodded, setting down my knitting. Of course. She handed me a letter, official, stamped, legal-looking. It's from the county office. They say the sale of the cabin was never finalized, but the buyer's suing for breach of contract. Something about withheld assets. My chest tightened. What assets? She shook her head. I don't know, but the lawyer mentioned old fishing company stocks under Dad's name. He said you might have known. The room seemed to tilt. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Tom's secret, the box, the promise. I spoke slowly. Lisa, those papers aren't what they think. Her voice rose. Then what are they, Mom? Why didn't you tell me? Are we rich? Her words cut sharper than I expected. Rich, I repeated. Is that what you want to know first? She stood, frustrated. I've been working double shifts at the shelter, scrubbing floors, feeding strangers while we could have been, I don't know, fixing this place, living better, not worrying about bills. I looked up at her, the same way I had when she was 10 and broke my grandmother's vase, angry, ashamed, desperate. You needed to find yourself before finding money, Lisa. Her eyes flashed. That's not your choice to make. No, I said quietly. It was your father's. She froze. Dad. I took the wooden box from under the table and placed it between us. The old latch clicked open. Tom's note lay on top. I handed it to her. Her fingers trembled as she read his words, his voice on the page, gentle and wise. When she finished, she sat down hard, tears spilling over. He wanted me to work at a shelter before knowing. I nodded. He knew you, chased the world until you forgot who you were. He wanted you to remember that love is the only thing worth keeping. She covered her face. I hated you for selling this cabin. I thought you just wanted to control me. I smiled sadly. I never wanted to control you, Lisa. I just wanted to keep you from losing yourself. We sat in silence. The fire popped. The lake outside shimmered under moonlight. Finally, she whispered, "What do we do now?" Now, I said, we decide what kind of people we want to be. The following weeks were a blur of decisions and rediscovery. We met with lawyers, confirmed the stocks, worth just over $5 million, as Tom predicted. Enough to rebuild lives, to build something lasting. Lisa wanted to give a portion to the shelter. They gave me a reason to wake up, she said. They deserve it. I nodded, proud. We repaired the cabin, restored the dock, painted the porch blue again. But more than that, we rebuilt us. On the first warm evening of summer, Lisa invited the shelter kids to visit. They performed their play on the lawn, a story about a fisherman who lost his way and found his heart. Adam directed with quiet precision, his cane tapping gently on the ground. I watched Lisa standing beside him, her hand lightly on his arm, guiding him toward the laughter of children. When the final scene ended, applause filled the air, loud, honest, pure. Lisa turned to me, eyes bright. He would have loved this, wouldn't he? I looked toward the lake, where the sun melted into gold over the horizon. He's loving it right now. Later that night, after everyone left, Lisa sat beside me on the porch. The air smelled of pine and warm grass. Fireflies blinked like tiny memories floating through the dusk. She leaned her head on my shoulder. "Mom," she said softly, "I used to think success was standing under bright lights with everyone watching. But tonight, I realized it's about the light inside you, isn't it?" I smiled. "You finally understand your father's secret." She laughed quietly. "Not the money." "No," I said, "the love." The lake shimmered under the moon. Somewhere, a loon called. I closed my eyes and heard Tom's voice again, steady, tender, proud. "You did it, Maggie. You both did." I whispered, "Good night, Tom." Lisa took my hand. "Good night, Dad." And for the first time in a long while, the lake was completely still, as if holding its breath to listen. The night sky hung low, heavy with clouds that threatened to burst at any moment. Amelia pulled her shawl tighter around her shoulders as she stepped out of the diner, her reflection flickering on the rain-drenched street. It had been another long day, one that began with unanswered emails and ended with a silence she couldn't shake. As she crossed the street, headlights flashed. A car slowed beside her. Its engine purred softly before the driver rolled down the window. "Need a ride?" a calm voice asked. She hesitated. The man inside was older, mid-30s perhaps, with sharp eyes and a coat that looked out of place for this small town. He didn't seem dangerous, but then again, looks were deceiving. "No, I'm fine," she replied, stepping back. He smiled faintly. "Suit yourself. Just be careful walking out here alone. Not everyone in this town is as polite as they look." Before she could respond, he drove off, tires cutting through the puddles, leaving her with more questions than before. The rain finally started, heavy, relentless. She hurried toward the bookstore to take shelter, but when she reached the door, a folded note was wedged into the crack. It was damp but legible, written in bold, unfamiliar handwriting. "Stop looking into the fire case. Some secrets are meant to stay buried." Her heartbeat quickened. No one was supposed to know about that, not yet. She stuffed the note into her pocket and turned around, scanning the empty street. But she wasn't alone. A shadow moved across the alley, slow, deliberate, watching her. And in that moment, Amelia realized. Whatever she had stumbled upon in Chapter 1 of her investigation was only the beginning. Amelia didn't sleep that night. Every time thunder cracked outside, she thought she heard footsteps on the gravel. Every creak of the old house made her flinch. The note, still damp, lay on her bedside table like a curse she couldn't shake off. At 2:17 a.m., she finally got up, lit the small lamp near her desk, and opened her notebook. On the first page were the words she had written days ago. The fire at Hollow Street wasn't an accident. Now she added below it, "Someone knows I'm looking." Her pen trembled. Suddenly, a faint knock echoed from the front door. Once, twice. She froze. Who would visit her at this hour? Amelia grabbed the metal flashlight from the drawer and crept down the hallway. The rain outside blurred the windows, and the only light came from the flickering street lamp beyond the gate. She opened the door a crack. No one. Only a package wrapped in brown paper soaked through. No address, no name. Her pulse raced as she tore it open. Inside was an old cassette tape and a Polaroid photo, a young girl, maybe 6 years old, standing in front of a burning house. The back of the photo was scribbled with 4 chilling words. And she was there too. Her breath caught, That house, she knew it. It was the same place she'd been investigating. But the girl, she looked familiar. The eyes, the expression. Amelia stumbled backward as realization hit her. The girl in the photo was her. The tape slipped from her shaking hands, rolling under the table. In that moment, she understood. This wasn't just a story she was chasing. It was her story. The night was colder than usual. A low wind whispered through the pine trees outside, and every branch scraped against the cabin's wooden walls like impatient fingers wanting to get in. Inside, Amelia sat alone by the fireplace, staring at the small black cassette that had been sitting on the table since morning. She had found it wedged between the pages of her mother's old diary. No label, no name, just a piece of masking tape with one word written in faded ink. Listen. Her hands trembled as she picked it up again. The cassette was dusty, the kind you had to roll with a pencil to make sure the tape wasn't jammed. She swallowed hard, the sound echoing in the stillness. Why now? She whispered to herself. Why after all these years? She had borrowed an old cassette player from the local thrift shop that afternoon. It smelled faintly of rust and forgotten songs. She placed the tape inside, pressed the small square button that said play, and waited. At first, there was only the sound of static, a long hiss, like the sea pulling at the sand. Then came a voice. A woman's voice. Soft, shaky, familiar. Amelia, if you're hearing this, then I suppose you found the diary. I'm sorry, sweetheart. Amelia froze, her breath caught in her throat. It was her mother, Evelyn Parker. But the tone was different, almost fragile, like she was afraid of her own words. I never wanted you to learn the truth this way, the voice continued, but I didn't have a choice. That night, the fire, it wasn't an accident. The sound of rain could be heard faintly in the background of the tape, mixed with the woman's trembling breaths. I was trying to protect you, Amelia, from him. From who? Amelia murmured under her breath, leaning closer. The tape hissed again, a small pause, then the voice came back, quieter this time. Your father wasn't who you think he was. Amelia's fingers tightened around the edge of the chair. Her mind raced back, her father, John Parker, a kind man who loved building birdhouses, who taught her to skip stones on the lake. He had died in that same fire, or so everyone believed. I found out what he was doing, Evelyn's recorded voice said. He was involved with people, Amelia, dangerous people. He promised them something he never delivered. They came to collect. I thought if I destroyed the cabin, it would end it all. But the voice cracked. A sob escaped the speaker, muffled by the years of dust on the tape. I didn't know he was inside. Amelia gasped. No, she whispered, her heart thudded painfully. She replayed the last few seconds again. The words echoed through the cabin like ghosts coming alive. I didn't know he was inside. Her body felt cold, even with the fire burning bright. Tears blurred her vision. Mom, what did you do? She whispered. The tape clicked, rewound slightly by itself, then continued with a faint humming sound, as if Evelyn had set it down somewhere and moved across the room. Then came the sound of drawers opening, papers shuffling. If anyone ever asks, tell them it was an accident, Evelyn said softly. Tell them we were both asleep, but if you're old enough to understand now, know that I never meant for it to happen this way. The people who wanted your father's files, they still exist. If you find a man named Daniel Cross, don't trust him. Amelia's eyes widened. Daniel Cross. The same man who had appeared 2 nights ago, drenched in rain, warning her to stop digging into the past. She stood abruptly, knocking over her cup of tea. The hot liquid spread across the wooden table, soaking into the tape recorder's cord. She unplugged it quickly, breathing hard. The world seemed to tilt. Her mother had confessed to setting the fire, and the man who warned her was somehow part of it all. A sharp knock at the door made her flinch. 3 times, slow, firm. Her first thought was to hide the tape. She grabbed it and slipped it into the pocket of her sweater. Then she took a deep breath and opened the door. Rain fell softly outside. A tall man stood there, wearing a long gray coat, his face shadowed by the porch light. "Evening, Amelia," he said. His voice was calm, too calm. "We need to talk." She didn't answer. Her throat was dry. "Daniel," she managed to say. He nodded once. His hair was wet, a few strands clinging to his forehead. His eyes, gray, almost colorless, studied her face as if searching for something. "I told you to stop looking," he said quietly, "but you didn't." Amelia stepped back, gripping the doorknob. "You knew my parents." He sighed. "I did." Then his gaze dropped to the small cassette player on the table behind her. "You listened to it." Her heart skipped. "What do you know about it?" "Everything," he replied, his tone softening slightly. "But you're in danger now. You shouldn't have played that tape." Lightning flashed outside, illuminating his face, and for the first time, Amelia noticed a small scar running down his jawline. She had seen it before in a photograph, in her father's workshop. She took a step forward. You were there that night." Daniel's expression tightened. He didn't deny it. "I tried to stop her," he said. "Your mother. She thought burning the cabin would erase the evidence, your father's files, the deals he made. But she didn't realize he had locked himself inside to destroy them himself." Amelia's chest ached. "So, you knew everything and you let her live with that guilt." He looked down. "I owed her. She saved my life once. That night I pulled her out of the flames. She begged me never to tell you." The fire in the hearth crackled louder, throwing flickering shadows on the walls. Amelia felt dizzy, overwhelmed by the weight of it all. Her mother had been both savior and destroyer. Her father had been both victim and culprit. She turned away from Daniel, tears slipping down her face. "Why now? Why tell me this now?" Daniel hesitated. Then he reached into his coat pocket and took out a folded envelope, slightly burned around the edges. "Because someone else is looking for that tape," he said, "and they won't stop until they find it." Amelia stared at him. "Who?" He didn't answer. Instead, he placed the envelope on the table. "Inside is a name and an address. Go there tomorrow before noon. Don't tell anyone you're coming." "And you?" she asked. He gave a faint, sad smile. "Let's just say my time, running out." Then he turned and disappeared into the rain. Amelia stood in the doorway for a long time, listening to the fadding sound of his footsteps. The cassette in her pocket felt heavier than before, like it carried not just her mother's confession, but the weight of every lie buried beneath that fire. She closed the door slowly and leaned against it, her pulse still racing. The fire crackled, the clock ticked, and somewhere deep inside her, an old part of her heart, the child who once believed her family was perfect, shattered completely. She looked at the tape recorder again. The play button was still glowing faintly, even though it had stopped spinning. For a moment, she thought she heard something, a whisper. Not from Daniel, not from the wind, from the speaker itself. Her mother's voice faint, almost like a sigh. "Don't trust him, Amelia." The sound faded. Silence followed. Amelia stepped closer, whispering, "Mom." But there was no reply, only the sound of rain. Then suddenly, a loud bang on the window. She jumped. The window pane rattled violently, and she rushed toward it. Outside, through the fog and darkness, a figure moved near the tree line, too fast to see clearly. Her heart thudded in her chest. She grabbed the flashlight and shone it out the window. Nothing. Just rain, trees, and the faint trail of footprints leading back toward the woods. Whoever it was, they had been watching. Amelia locked every door and window in the cabin, then sat down again beside the fire. She took out the envelope Daniel had left behind, her fingers trembling as she tore it open. Inside was a single note, written in hurried handwriting. "He's not dead." And beneath it, an address. Chicago. Her father's name written beside it. Amelia stared at the paper, her breath shallow. Her father was supposed to be dead, burned in that fire 20 years ago. But if this note was true, then the fire had hidden more than one secret. The storm outside grew louder, and in the glow of the firelight, Amelia whispered to herself, "This isn't over, not yet." She looked again at the tape recorder. The word "listen" stared back at her from the cassette's faded label, almost like an unfinished warning. The rain had stopped by dawn, but the sky still looked bruised, swollen with leftover clouds. Amelia hadn't slept. The fire had died hours ago, leaving behind a gray bed of ashes and the faint smell of smoke that clung to her sweater. She sat at the kitchen table, the note Daniel had left spread open in front of her. The words hadn't changed, though she had read them 100 times. "He's not dead." And beneath it, the Chicago address. Her father's name. John Parker. Her fingers traced the letters, as if touching them might make the truth easier to hold. Could he really be alive? And if he was, why had he never come back? By 8 a.m., she had packed a small bag, some clothes, the cassette, her mother's diary. She hesitated before locking the cabin door. The lake outside was perfectly still, a mirror of gray sky. For a moment, she saw her reflection on its surface, tired eyes and tangled hair, but something else too, the faint outline of another shape just behind her. She turned. Nothing. The woods were silent, but she felt the weight of being watched again. Maybe it was paranoia. Maybe it was. She climbed into her old station wagon and started the engine. The road from the cabin wound along the lake for miles before connecting to the highway. It was a quiet drive, too quiet, broken only by the hum of tires and the whisper of her thoughts. As the miles passed, memories came and went like ghosts hitchhiking beside her. Her father teaching her to bait a hook, her mother humming while washing dishes, the smell of burnt wood, the screaming sirens. She gripped the steering wheel tighter. When she reached Chicago, the sky had cleared into a pale, cold blue. The city was loud, car horns, chatter, distant sirens, all blending into a sound that felt too alive after so much isolation. The address on the paper led her to the south side, near the edge of an old industrial district. Warehouses, half-abandoned shops, and faded murals lined the streets. The building she stopped in front of was a brick complex with a metal door that looked recently replaced. She double-checked the paper. Yes, this was it. A nameplate beside the door read, J. Parker Consulting. Her stomach turned. It couldn't be. She pressed the buzzer. A faint voice crackled through the intercom. "Who's there?" She hesitated, then said, "Amelia Parker." A silence. Then the door clicked open. Her heart pounded as she stepped inside. The hallway smelled of dust and faint coffee. A single light flickered overhead. She followed the sound of footsteps down the corridor until she reached an office with half-drawn blinds. A man stood inside, back turned, looking out the window. His hair was mostly gray, but the posture, the curve of the shoulders, felt oddly familiar. He turned slowly, and Amelia's world stopped. "Dad." The man's face had aged, lined deeply around the eyes, but there was no mistaking him. John Parker. The same blue-gray eyes, the same scar by the temple from a fishing accident years ago. For a moment, neither spoke. Then he exhaled softly. "You look just like your mother." Her breath hitched. "You're alive." He nodded once, almost ashamed. "I didn't mean for you to find out like this." Tears stung her eyes. "You didn't mean for me to find out? You let me believe you were dead for 20 years. He looked down, his voice trembling. "It was the only way to protect you." "From what? From Mom?" she snapped. "Because I listened to the tape, Dad. I know she set the fire." John froze, his jaw tightened. "She told you that." "She recorded it," Amelia said bitterly. "She said she didn't know you were inside." He ran a hand through his hair, packing the room. "She didn't. I made sure of that." Amelia blinked. "What do you mean?" He stopped packing and faced her. "That night, I wasn't supposed to be there. I came back early. I'd made a deal with some very bad people to get out of it. I had to destroy the files, the proof of what we'd been working on. Your mother thought she was saving us, but she didn't know the fire was her idea and mine at the same time." Amelia shook her head, confused. "You're saying you both set the same fire?" He nodded slowly. "Different reasons. She thought burning the cabin would erase my debt. I thought burning it would save my life. We both thought we were saving you." He sat down heavily on the edge of his desk. "When the fire started, I was trapped. Daniel pulled me out." Amelia's breath caught. "Daniel? He said he pulled Mom out." John gave a tired smile. "He saved both of us, but your mother never forgave herself. She told me to disappear, said it was the only way you'd have a normal life." Amelia's voice broke. "Normal? You think growing up believing my father burned alive was normal?" He looked away. "I watched from afar, Amelia. Every year on your birthday, every Christmas. I wanted to come back, but the people I crossed, they weren't gone. They watched me too." Amelia's anger faltered as she saw the guilt in his eyes. "Then why now?" she whispered. "Why did Daniel send me here?" John hesitated. "Because they've found me again." Her blood ran cold. Before she could speak, a sudden noise echoed from the hallway, the sound of a door slamming shut. John's eyes darted toward the sound. He stood quickly, motioning for her to stay quiet. "Don't move." He opened the drawer of his desk and pulled out a small pistol. "Dad," Amelia whispered, terrified. "SHH." He moved to the door, peeking through the blinds. The corridor was empty, but the lights flickered again. Then a voice echoed faintly, distant, male, calm. "John Parker, it's been a long time." John cursed under his breath. "They're here." Amelia's pulse pounded. "Who?" He turned to her. "People who never stopped looking for the files, the same ones your mother feared." He grabbed a small folder from the shelf and shoved it into her hands. "Take this. It's everything left from that night, blueprints, notes, names. Go to a place called St. Agnes Shelter near the lake. Ask for Sister June. She'll help you." Amelia shook her head. "No, I'm not leaving you again." "Amelia, please," he said, his voice cracking. "You survived once. Don't throw it away." A gunshot cut through the air. The glass of the office window shattered, sending shards across the floor. John ducked, pulling her down behind the desk. Another shot hit the door. "Dad," she screamed. He aimed toward the door and fired back twice. The building echoed with the chaos of footsteps. "Go now," he shouted, "through the back exit." Amelia hesitated, just long enough to see him reload. Then she bolted. The hallway was a blur. Smoke from gunfire filled the air. She stumbled down the emergency stairs, clutching the folder tightly against her chest. Outside, the city noise felt unreal, too normal for what she had just left behind. She ran to her car, threw open the door, and drove without looking back. Only when she reached the highway did she realize she was sobbing, deep, uncontrollable sobs that shook her entire body. Her father was alive. And now he was in danger again. As she sped toward the lake, the folder on the passenger seat slid open slightly. Papers spilled out, one catching her eye. It was a photo, black and white, of her father, Daniel, and one other man standing beside a large piece of machinery labeled Project Eden. On the back, a single handwritten note. The fire wasn't meant to destroy, it was meant to hide. She slammed the brakes, the car skidding slightly on the wet pavement. "What the hell were you hiding, Dad?" she whispered. By evening, the sky had turned orange over the lake. She found the St. Agnes shelter easily, a weathered brick building beside the old pier, where the smell of salt and decay hung in the air. Children's laughter echoed faintly from inside, strange comfort in the middle of her storm. She stepped in, clutching the folder. A kind-faced woman in her 50s looked up from the front desk. "Can I help you?" Amelia swallowed. "I'm looking for Sister June." The woman smiled softly. "That would be me." Amelia hesitated, then said, "My father, John Parker, sent me." The smile faded. "Come with me." Sister June led her down a narrow hallway into a small office, lined with books and framed photographs of the shelter's early days. Once the door closed, June turned, her expression serious. "If John sent you here, things must be worse than I thought." Amelia sat down, exhausted. "He said you could help me. He said someone, after him, after us." June nodded slowly. "I know, they've been after that project for decades, but if he's surfaced again, it means he's finally ready to tell the truth." "What truth?" Amelia asked. June took the folder from her and opened it. Inside were pages filled with diagrams, equations, and handwritten notes. One of them was labeled Eden Protocol Energy Simulation Model. "This," June said quietly, "was supposed to be the clean energy breakthrough of the century. Unlimited power from water compression. But it wasn't stable. When the tests failed, people died. The company buried it. Your father and Daniel tried to expose them." Amelia's eyes widened. "Expose them?" June nodded. "They leaked part of the research. The fire, it was meant to burn the rest before the wrong hands could use it." Amelia sat back, her head spinning. "So my mother wasn't trying to destroy evidence. She was trying to protect it." "Yes," June said gently. "She thought by burning everything, she'd stop the bloodshed." Amelia felt tears well up again, and instead she destroyed our lives. June placed a comforting hand on hers. "Sometimes saving the world costs too much." Before Amelia could reply, the sound of a bell echoed from the front hall, sharp, urgent. June frowned. That's odd, we're closed to visitors at this hour. She stood, walking to the door. Stay here, she said softly. But Amelia's instincts screamed. She grabbed the folder and followed, staying a few steps behind. When June reached the lobby, the front door was wide open. Wind blew in from the lake, carrying mist and the faint scent of gasoline. And standing there in the doorway was Daniel. He looked different, his face harder, his coat darker, his expression unreadable. Daniel, Amelia breathed, you're alive. He smiled faintly. You didn't think I'd leave you alone, did you? Sister June narrowed her eyes. What do you want, Daniel? He stepped inside, glancing at the folder in Amelia's hands. The truth, he said, the same thing your father wanted. Amelia held the folder closer. You said people were after us. You lied. I didn't lie, Daniel said quietly. I just didn't tell you who they were. June took a cautious step forward. Then who are they? Daniel's gaze hardened. Everyone, government, corporations, anyone who knows what Eden could do. And now, Amelia, you're the only one left who knows where the original prototype is. Her pulse quickened. Prototype? What are you talking about? Daniel looked at her, his voice low. The machine survived the fire. A gust of wind slammed the door shut, making all three flinch. The candles in the room flickered wildly, shadows dancing across the walls. Amelia stared at Daniel, her mind racing. If the machine still existed, and if it could generate power from water, then it was worth billions. Enough to kill for. She took a step back. Where is my father? She demanded. Daniel didn't answer immediately. His silence told her everything. Tears filled her eyes. No. I'm sorry, he said softly. They found him before I could. Amelia's knees gave way, and June caught her before she hit the floor. The folder slipped from her hands, papers scattering like white wings. Daniel knelt beside her, his voice almost pleading. Listen to me. We can finish what he started. We can expose them, but we have to find the machine before they do. Amelia lifted her tear-streaked face. And if I refuse? He sighed. Then everything your parents died for will mean nothing. The room fell silent, except for the whisper of the wind through the cracked door. Amelia stared at the folder, the pages that had destroyed her family, the secrets that refused to die. Finally, she whispered, "Where do we start?" Daniel's expression softened, back where it all began. He looked toward the lake, where the setting sun glowed blood-red against the horizon. The cabin, he said quietly, there's something still buried beneath it. Night had fallen like a heavy curtain over the Wisconsin shoreline. The lake was black, reflecting only the faint shimmer of the moon through the scattered clouds. Amelia and Daniel drove slowly along the winding road that led to her childhood cabin, the air thick with mist and the smell of wet pine. Every turn, every bend in the road made Amelia's stomach churn. Memories she had tried to bury, laughter, summer days skipping stones, the warmth of her father's hands guiding hers, surged unbidden. And yet, beneath it all, a thread of fear ran tight. Daniel had warned her. Whoever had been after her father would not stop. And they might already know she was coming back. The cabin stood at the edge of the lake, burned down years ago, reduced to blackened beams and ashes. The silence around it was suffocating, broken only by the occasional cry of a loon across the water and the whisper of wind through the skeletal trees. Amelia stepped out of the car first, the folder clutched tightly against her chest. She felt the ash crunch beneath her boots, the smell of charred wood and wet earth filling her nostrils. "It's exactly as I remembered, and yet," she murmured, voice trembling, "it's worse." Daniel placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Stay close. We don't know if anyone else is watching." She nodded, swallowing hard. Her heart hammered in her chest. For a moment, she allowed herself to remember the fire, the screaming, the heat, the panic. The tape, her mother's confession, Daniel's warning, everything had led to this night. "Start digging," she asked quietly. Daniel shook his head. "We'll look first. Sometimes the truth hides in plain sight." They walked slowly through the remnants of the cabin, careful not to step on unstable beams or sink into piles of ash. Amelia paused at the edge of what had been the living room. The floorboards were gone, leaving only scorched earth and a few twisted nails protruding. "Look," Daniel said, pointing to a corner where the ground seemed slightly raised. "Something under there." Amelia's pulse quickened. She bent down, brushing the ash with her hands. Beneath the blackened layers, she felt metal, a box or a case. She looked at Daniel. He nodded. "I think it's the prototype." Her breath caught. The machine. Carefully, they cleared away the remaining ash, smoke curling into the cold night air. Finally, they unearthed a small, charred metal box, still intact despite the fire. It was heavier than it looked, the surface scorched and dented, yet solid. Daniel knelt beside her. "This is what your father was protecting." Amelia's hands shook as she lifted the box. The weight of it seemed symbolic, almost tangible, the burden of secrets, lies, and years of hidden truths. "I don't understand," she said softly. "Why burn everything, then hide this?" Daniel looked at her, eyes dark with thought. He had to make it look like it was destroyed. People would have killed to get it, and if they thought it was gone, your father and mother would be safe temporarily. Amelia's fingers traced the edges of the box. Temporarily, until now. The wind picked up, rustling through the skeletal trees. For the first time, Amelia realized the silence was not just absence, it was waiting. Waiting for someone to find them. A snap echoed from the woods behind them. Amelia jumped. Daniel's hand tightened around hers. "They're here," he whispered. Amelia's heart raced. Her mind flashed back to the tape, her mother's trembling voice. "If you find Daniel Cross, don't trust him." "Daniel," she said urgently, "what if?" A shadow moved at the edge of the trees. 2 more shadows followed, cautious, deliberate. Amelia stepped back, clutching the box closer. "We need to leave," she whispered. Daniel shook his head. "Not yet. We can't take it far without them noticing. We need proof first, something to expose whoever been hunting this for 20 years. She looked at him, confused, fear twisting in her stomach. Proof? What proof? He knelt beside the box and opened it carefully. Inside was a small, compact device, intricate gears, wires, and a gleaming cylinder at its center. Alongside it were blueprints, handwritten notes, and a small photograph of her father standing beside a group of men she didn't recognize. Amelia leaned in closer. This is it. This is what my father risked everything for." Daniel nodded. "Yes, but look here." He pointed to the notes. "Your father realized it could be used for far more than energy. It could be weaponized. That's why he destroyed most of the files, but some he hid here to ensure that if the wrong people found it, it wouldn't fall into their hands." Amelia's mind reeled. "And my mother, she destroyed the cabin to protect it." Daniel nodded. Yes, but she also hid part of the truth from you. That fire wasn't just to erase evidence, it was to keep you safe, to give you a normal life. Amelia stared at the charred remains of her childhood, the box, the notes. A normal life, she repeated bitterly. How could they have thought that after 20 years of lies? The shadows at the tree line shifted again. Daniel grabbed the box, securing it under his arm. We have to move, now. Amelia followed him toward the car, careful with every step. The wind howled louder, carrying the faint scent of smoke from nearby woods. Suddenly, a figure stepped out from behind a tree, tall, lean, and dark-coated. Amelia froze. "Step aside," the stranger said. The voice was sharp, commanding. Daniel tightened his grip on the box. "We can do this the easy way or the hard way," he said, voice low. The stranger laughed, a dry, humorless sound. "You don't understand. That box doesn't belong to you, and if you take it, you'll die before you reach anywhere safe." Amelia swallowed hard, her legs trembled. Daniel looked at her, eyes steady. "Amelia," he said softly, "trust me. We can get through this. But you need to listen, follow my lead." She nodded, gripping his hand. The figure advanced, slow, deliberate. Daniel's hand rested on the edge of his coat, not for a gun, but for something else, a device Amelia hadn't seen before. He stepped forward, standing between her and the stranger. "You don't understand the consequences," Daniel said firmly. "You don't know who you're dealing with." The stranger paused, a faint smirk crossing his face. "I know enough." Suddenly, a shot rang out, a deafening crack that echoed across the lake. Amelia fell to the ground, heart racing. Daniel pulled her behind a fallen beam, shielding her. Another shot. Sparks flew from the ground where the bullet hit. Amelia's mind spun. "Daniel, what now?" He looked at her, eyes fierce and unyielding. "Now we finish this, tonight." The stranger stepped closer, and the mist around the cabin seemed to thicken. Every shadow became a threat. Every whisper of wind sounded like a warning. Amelia clutched the box, knowing that inside it was the truth her parents had died to protect, the legacy of their sacrifices, and the secret that could change everything. She looked at Daniel. "I'm ready," she whispered. He nodded, pulling the folder from her hands, opening it to the blueprints. "Then let's end this before more lives are destroyed." The night closed in around them, the lake still, the wind silent for the first time. Amelia took a deep breath. The ashes of the past lay before them, and in the shadows, the final truth waited to be unearthed. And for the first time, she felt a strange certainty that what was buried in the fire would finally come to light. The moon had disappeared behind thick clouds, leaving the world around the cabin shrouded in near-complete darkness. Amelia's hands still trembled from the chaos of the previous night, but there was no time to dwell. Daniel had instructed her to keep moving, to reach a safe location where they could finally understand what they had unearthed. The forest road was narrow and slick with dew. Every snapped twig and rustling leaf made Amelia flinch. She clutched the folder tightly, Daniel keeping the charred box close. "Where are we going?" she asked, her voice breaking the silence of the car. "To a place your father trusted," Daniel replied, eyes fixed on the road ahead. "A cabin he used to meet people involved in Project Eden. It's secluded, safe for planning." Amelia nodded, though her mind raced. Safe? The word felt foreign now. The nights in this area had been anything but safe, and yet she had to trust him. She had no other choice. The car pulled to a stop at the edge of a hill, overlooking a small valley where mist curled between the trees like restless spirits. An old cabin sat there, half hidden by overgrowth, its windows dark, unwelcoming. Daniel parked and they stepped out. The forest was quiet, almost too quiet. Amelia noticed every sound: the snap of a branch, the hoot of an owl, the soft whisper of the wind. Her pulse pounded in rhythm with each distant echo. "This way," Daniel whispered, leading her down a narrow path overgrown with ferns. They reached the cabin's back door, which Daniel unlocked with a key he had kept hidden under his coat. Inside, the cabin smelled of old wood and dust. There were crates stacked against the walls, papers strewn across a work table, and a faint smell of oil lingering in the air. Amelia's eyes widened. "Your father, he did all this in secret." Daniel nodded. He had to. The wrong people were always watching. If they discovered what he was building, he'd have never finished. Amelia set the box down carefully on the table, her hands trembling. "And now," she asked, "everything we found, what's next?" Daniel opened the folder, spreading the blueprints across the table. Amelia leaned over, trying to make sense of the intricate diagrams. Lines, circuits, measurements, equations, it was complex, but she could feel the genius behind it. "These are the original schematics," Daniel said. "Your father designed it to generate clean energy. But there's more, something he never told anyone. And that's why people wanted him dead." Amelia frowned. "More? What could be more dangerous than unlimited energy?" Daniel hesitated. "The technology could be weaponized. That's why your father made enemies, corporations, governments, even some he trusted." Her stomach twisted. Even him, who could he trust? Daniel's eyes darkened. Not everyone in the team was loyal. There were betrayals from within, people close to him who wanted the project for themselves. Amelia's heart sank. Betrayal from Daniel or someone else? Daniel shook his head. "Not me, I was loyal, but your father didn't know who he could truly trust. That's why the fire, everything your mother did, it wasn't just about hiding the machine. It was about protecting the people involved and you." Amelia exhaled sharply. "Protect me by making me believe he was dead." Daniel's gaze softened. "She thought it was the only way. Your father didn't argue. He went along, secretly watching over you from a distance." Amelia closed her eyes. Memories of growing up, of feeling abandoned, of anger, of longing rushed back. 20 years of believing he was dead," she whispered. "All the lies." Daniel reached out, placing a hand gently on hers. "The truth is worse than the lies, Amelia. We're about to find out just how deep it goes." Suddenly, there was a noise, a faint rustle from outside the cabin. Amelia jumped. Daniel moved toward the window cautiously. "I think we're being watched," he said, voice low. Before Amelia could respond, the door creaked open. A shadow fell across the doorway, and a figure stepped inside, tall, angular, with a face partially obscured by a hood. "Looking for answers, are we?" the figure said, voice cold and familiar. Amelia froze, Daniel's jaw tightened. "Who are you?" The figure pulled back the hood, revealing a face Amelia had only seen in photographs. A man she had trusted as a friend of her father, Michael Trent, one of the original team members of Project Eden. "Michael," Amelia breathed, fear and disbelief mingling in her chest. Michael smiled thinly. "Surprised? You shouldn't be. I've been waiting for this moment for a long time." Daniel's hand moved subtly, resting on the edge of the table, ready. "What do you want, Michael?" Michael's eyes glinted. What everyone wants, the box, the machine, everything your father left behind, and I'll do whatever it takes to get it. Amelia's hands shook. But you worked with him. How could you betray him? Michael laughed softly. Betrayal? No, Amelia, I'm a realist. He was naive, believed in saving the world. I believe in survival, and that's what you'll have to learn tonight. Amelia felt a chill run down her spine. Daniel stepped in front of her, blocking her view of Michael. You're not getting it, Daniel said. Not tonight. Michael raised an eyebrow. Then you'll die trying. Before Daniel could respond, Michael lunged forward, swift and precise. Daniel reacted immediately, shoving Amelia behind the table. The room erupted into chaos. Papers flew, the box tipped dangerously, sparks from the stove flickered, and the cabin smelled of fear and smoke. Amelia crouched, clutching the folder to her chest. Her heart pounded. All of this, betrayal, she couldn't believe someone she had trusted could be behind this. Daniel grappled with Michael, the sound of fists and grunts filling the room. Amelia wanted to help, but her fear rooted her to the floor. She closed her eyes, trying to steady her breath. Suddenly, Michael grabbed a heavy wrench from the corner, swinging it with terrifying precision. Daniel barely blocked it, and the force sent him staggering into a stack of crates. Amelia's mind raced. I can't just sit here, I have to do something. She noticed a small fire extinguisher near the door. Adrenaline surged. She grabbed it, creeping toward the scuffle. Michael was distracted, focusing entirely on Daniel. With a deep breath, Amelia swung the extinguisher, striking him in the side. Michael yelped, momentarily stunned. Daniel took advantage of the opening, tackling Michael to the floor. The two men struggled, rolling across the cabin floor, smashing furniture. Amelia watched, breathless, praying her father or Daniel, the closest thing she had to family now, would win. Finally, Daniel pinned Michael. Enough, he growled. This ends tonight. Either you walk away or you stay here until the authorities arrive. Michael glared up at him, eyes full of rage, then slowly, deliberately relaxed. You think you've won? He hissed. You've only delayed it. The world will want this, and one day they'll come back for it. Count on it. Daniel tightened his grip, but let go just enough for Michael to stand. If you come near us again, Daniel's voice was cold, final. Michael smirked. I'll see you soon, Amelia. Be careful who you trust. With that, he disappeared into the night, leaving only the echo of his footsteps and the chill of betrayal in the cabin. Amelia sank to the floor, tears streaming down her face. All of it, all the lies, the fires, the danger, she whispered. Why? Why did it have to be like this? Daniel sat beside her, holding her shoulder gently. Because your father's vision was too big for the world to handle, and people like Michael, they'll always see opportunity in chaos. But we survived. That matters more than anything else right now. Amelia wiped her tears. She looked around at the scattered papers, the box, the destroyed cabin. For the first time, the weight of the past 20 years pressed on her fully. And yet, amid the fear and betrayal, a small spark of resolve ignited. She would not let her father's legacy, or the sacrifices of her mother and Daniel, be destroyed by greed. She would fight. She would protect the truth. Daniel helped her to her feet. We need to secure the box and the files. Then we expose them publicly. The world needs to know Amelia. Amelia nodded. Her hands no longer trembled. Let's finish this, she said, voice steady. No more running, no more hiding. The wind howled outside the cabin. carrying with it the whispers of past betrayals, the echoes of fire and lies. But for the first time, Amelia felt a sense of purpose, a determination to face the danger, to confront the truth, and to finally uncover the secrets buried in the ashes. Together, she and Daniel packed the box and the papers carefully. The stormy night outside reflected the chaos in their hearts, but also the promise of resolution. As they stepped into the forest, leaving the cabin behind, Amelia looked up at the obscured moon. For the first time in decades, she felt ready to face whatever came next. Because the night of betrayal had passed, and now the dawn of truth awaited. The forest seemed endless as Amelia and Daniel carefully made their way to the hidden cabin that had sheltered her father's secrets. Mist curled around the trees, damp and heavy, smelling of pine and earth, and every snapping twig beneath their boots sent shivers down Amelia's spine. She clutched the folder close to her chest, the weight of the blueprints inside pressing on her both physically and emotionally. "I never imagined it would come to this," Amelia whispered, her voice barely audible. "All the years of wondering, of longing, and it was all hidden right under my nose." Daniel glanced at her, eyes soft but alert. "It's not over yet. The truth you're about to uncover, it will change everything you thought you knew." Amelia's stomach twisted. "I'm ready. I need to know." They reached the cabin, the one her father had trusted, the one left untouched by fire or betrayal. It was small, with peeling paint and a creaking wooden porch, but it felt alive, as though it had been waiting for her return. Daniel unlocked the door with a key his father had given him years ago, and the hinges groaned in protest. Inside, the air smelled faintly of old paper, wood polish, and the faint trace of her mother's perfume. Dust motes danced in the beams of moonlight spilling through the windows. Amelia's eyes scanned the room. Shelves lined the walls, stacked with papers, folders, and old photographs. In the center of the room sat a small, locked chest. Its wood was polished, golden brown, and it seemed to hum with history and secrets. "That chest," Daniel said, nodding, "your father left it for you. It contains the last confession from your mother." Amelia's hands trembled as she knelt before it. She slid her fingers along the cool surface of the wood, feeling its smoothness and the engraved initials. MK, her breath hitched. Mother's words, could she bear them after all these years? Daniel handed her a small key. "It's time," he said softly. "You deserve to know everything." Amelia took a deep breath, inserting the key into the lock. It clicked, and the lid creaked open. Inside were dozens of papers, a small leather-bound diary, and a photograph of her parents, smiling on the porch of this very cabin, before the fire, before the betrayal, before the secrets. She picked up the diary, leather soft with age, and opened the first page. Her mother's handwriting, familiar and elegant, filled the lines. "Amelia, if you are reading this, it means the world has caught up to the secrets we kept for too long. I am leaving you this confession because the truth cannot die with me. You must understand, everything we did, the fire, the hidden box, the lies, we did to protect you." Amelia's eyes welled with tears. She whispered, "Mom, why didn't you just tell me?" The next pages revealed a story she had never known. Her mother described the early days of Project Eden, the technological breakthrough her father had achieved, and the people who had threatened them. The diary detailed the fire that destroyed the cabin, her mother's fear, and her desperate decision to create a life for Amelia free from danger, even if it meant lying about her father's death. Amelia felt her chest tighten. All this time, she was protecting me. Daniel knelt beside her. Sometimes protection comes in ways we don't understand until much later. The diary also revealed the shocking truth about Michael Trent, the betrayal, and the reason he had been hunting them all these years. Amelia's father had suspected Michael's ambition, but never fully realized how far he would go to claim Project Eden's technology. Amelia's hands trembled as she read, "Michael believes in power over people. He will stop at nothing to control what we created. You must not trust him, and if Daniel is with you, trust him completely. He is the only one who has stood by us from the beginning." Her breath caught. Daniel's steady presence beside her suddenly made sense. He had been her father's ally, her mother's confidant, and now the guardian of the legacy they had fought to protect. Amelia flipped through the diary pages carefully, reading about the final days before the fire, her mother's grief, and the hidden fortune her father had left. Stocks, accounts, and investments he had meticulously arranged to ensure Amelia's security. The truth of her inheritance was far greater than she had ever imagined. Tears blurred her vision. All these sacrifices, Mom, Dad, I never knew. Daniel placed a hand on her shoulder. "You know now, Amelia, and it's your choice how to honor that legacy." Amelia closed the diary, her heart pounding with the weight of revelation. She felt anger, sorrow, and gratitude all at once. The betrayal, the danger, the years of lies, they had all led her to this moment. She turned to Daniel. "We can't let Michael win. We have to expose him, protect the truth, and help people understand what my parents created." Daniel nodded. "Exactly. But first, we need to secure the evidence. The blueprints, the diary, the box, all of it." Amelia carefully packed the items, making sure nothing was left behind. Each page, each photograph, each note was a piece of history, a testament to the courage of the parents who had sacrificed everything for her. The night outside remained still, the forest holding its breath as if waiting. Amelia felt a sense of clarity she had never known. She understood her mother's decisions, her father's secret struggles, and the weight of responsibility that now rested on her shoulders. As they prepared to leave, Amelia paused. She glanced at the diary one last time, memorizing her mother's final words. "Remember, Amelia, family is more than blood. It is loyalty, courage, and the strength to do what is right, even when it is impossible. Protect this truth, and you will honor us both." Amelia's lips trembled as she whispered, "I will, Mom, I promise." Daniel opened the cabin door, and the cold night air rushed in. The forest seemed endless, but Amelia no longer felt lost. She had the truth, and with it, the strength to face whatever came next. As they walked back toward the car, Amelia felt a strange calm settle over her. The betrayal, the danger, and the mystery of her father's death were still fresh in her mind, but now she had purpose. Now she had direction. The final confrontation with Michael Trent was inevitable. Amelia knew that he would not rest until he had claimed what her parents had created. But armed with the diary, the blueprints, and Daniel's unwavering support, she felt ready. The wind rustled the leaves, carrying with it the faint scent of smoke from the old burned cabin. Amelia inhaled deeply, letting it fill her lungs. The ashes of the past no longer weighed her down. They had given her the courage to move forward. She glanced at Daniel. "Tomorrow we confront him, we end this." Daniel nodded. "Together." Amelia smiled faintly, a mix of fear and determination in her eyes. For the first time, she understood the full meaning of the word legacy. It was not just about inheritance or technology. It was about courage, truth, and the willingness to face the consequences of the past to protect the future. The forest around them was silent, save for the soft whisper of wind and the distant call of an owl. Amelia felt the weight of history pressing on her, but it was no longer crushing, it was guiding. Every step she took was fueled by the memory of her parents, their sacrifices, and their unwavering belief in her. The road ahead would be dangerous. Michael Trent was still out there, still determined. But Amelia no longer felt like a child lost in the shadows of lies. She felt like the heir of truth, ready to confront the darkness and bring the light into the open. As they reached the car, Amelia looked back at the cabin one last time. It stood silent, shrouded in mist, a monument to secrets, courage, and love. She felt a surge of gratitude for the parents who had protected her, and for Daniel, who had guided her through the darkness. The night was far from over, but Amelia felt ready. Ready to face betrayal, confront danger, and uncover the final truths that had shaped her life. And most importantly, ready to honor the last confession of the woman who had given her everything, her mother. With a final glance at the misty woods, Amelia and Daniel drove off into the night, carrying the truth that would change everything, and setting the stage for the ultimate resolution of the secrets that had haunted her for 20 years. The first light of dawn barely pierced the thick mist over the Wisconsin lake, painting the world in muted shades of gray. Amelia gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles white, as Daniel navigated the winding road away from the cabin that had guarded her family's secrets for decades. The night's revelations still pulsed in her mind: the betrayal, the diary, the hidden fortune, and the danger that Michael Trent represented. "We need a plan," Amelia said quietly, breaking the tense silence between them. "We can't just confront him blindly." Daniel nodded. "I've already contacted a few people who can help us secure the evidence and broadcast it. The world needs to know, but we also need protection. Michael Trent is dangerous, more than you realize." Amelia took a deep breath. "I know, I can feel it, but I'm done running." The car slowed as they approached a small town near the lake. The streets were empty at this hour, fog curling around lampposts and the tips of trees. Amelia could hear the soft hum of distant traffic and the gentle lapping of the lake against its shore. For a moment, the world seemed calm, deceptively serene. Daniel parked in the shadow of a warehouse. "This is where we coordinate with the team," he said. "We'll secure the box, the blueprints, and your mother's diary. Once that's done, we confront Michael." Amelia nodded, taking a deep breath. The air was damp, heavy with the scent of water and pine. She felt the adrenaline in her veins, a mixture of fear and determination. This is it, the moment to end it all. Inside the warehouse, the room smelled of oil, paper, and a faint trace of old machinery. Amelia's eyes scanned the area, maps on the walls, computers humming quietly, and a few people busy organizing boxes of evidence and preparing cameras. Daniel approached a woman with sharp eyes and an aura of calm authority. "This is Amelia," Daniel introduced. "She's the heir to Project Eden. We have everything: the diary, the box, the blueprints, but we need your help to expose Michael Trent." The woman nodded. "We've been tracking him for months. With this evidence, we can make sure the truth is out and that he can't touch you or your family ever again." Amelia felt a surge of relief. For the first time, she sensed that justice was within reach. "Good," Let's do it. Hours passed as they organized the evidence, scanning the blueprints and photographing the diary's pages. Amelia handled each document carefully, the weight of her parents' sacrifices pressing down on her. She felt both grief and pride, grief for the lies and betrayal that had shadowed her life, and pride for the courage and foresight of her parents. Finally, the preparations were complete. Amelia stood before the assembled cameras and microphones, her voice steady, her hands no longer trembling. Daniel stood beside her, his presence grounding her. Amelia took a deep breath. My name is Amelia Klein. For years, I believed my father was dead. I believed my family had vanished under tragic circumstances. But the truth is far more complicated, far more dangerous, and far more important than I could have imagined. She paused, letting her words sink in, the camera's word recording every detail. My father, Tom Klein, was a brilliant scientist. He created something that could have changed the world, clean, limitless energy. But there were people who wanted it for themselves, who would stop at nothing to take it. One of those people was Michael Trent, someone we trusted, someone who betrayed us. Amelia's voice caught, but she pressed on. For years, my mother protected me, hid the truth, and made sacrifices to ensure my safety. Now, the time has come to reveal everything. The machine, the blueprints, the diary, the legacy of my parents will not be stolen. The world will know the truth, and those who acted in greed and betrayal will be exposed. She held up the diary, her hands firm. These are my mother's words, her final confession. Every page tells the story of love, sacrifice, and courage, and I will honor that legacy. The cameras continued rolling, capturing every nuance, every emotion. Amelia felt a sense of calm strength she had never known. For the first time, she was no longer a victim of the past. She was the guardian of the truth. Daniel leaned close. Now, Amelia, it's time. Amelia nodded, and together they left the warehouse, heading toward the abandoned pier where Michael Trent was believed to be hiding. The fog hung low over the lake, and the water shimmered faintly in the morning light, like molten silver. Every step felt heavy with anticipation, every sound amplified in the stillness. When they reached the pier, the air was thick with tension. Michael Trent was there, leaning against a railing, watching the water with a cold, calculating gaze. He turned as they approached, a smirk on his lips. "Ah, Amelia," he said smoothly, "I wondered when you'd show up." "Michael," Amelia said firmly, holding the diary and blueprints close. "It's over. You don't get to destroy my family's legacy anymore." Michael laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "You really think it's that simple? The world belongs to people like me, people who take what they want. You're naive if you think you can stop me." Daniel stepped forward. "This isn't just about stopping you, it's about justice. The truth will come out no matter how hard you try to bury it." Michael's smirk faltered slightly. "You don't know who you're dealing with," he hissed. Amelia raised her voice, steady and unwavering. "I do, and I've learned from my parents courage, sacrifice, and loyalty. You underestimated me. You underestimated the truth." For a moment, there was silence. The wind whispered across the water, the faint lapping of waves the only sound. Then, Michael made a sudden move, lunging toward Amelia. Daniel reacted instantly, intercepting him, and a struggle ensued. Amelia stepped back, clutching the diary, watching as Michael and Daniel grappled. Sparks flew from the pier's wooden beams as they collided, the tension in the air almost unbearable. Amelia knew she couldn't just watch. She took a deep breath and activated a small recorder, broadcasting her confession live, ensuring the world would see the truth unfold. "Attention, everyone," she shouted. "This is Amelia Klein. Michael Trent has been hunting my family for decades, attempting to claim Project Eden for himself. But the evidence is here, the diary, the blueprints, the machine. The world will know the truth." Michael struggled against Daniel, fury and fear in his eyes. "You can't do this," he shouted. Amelia's voice rang clear, unwavering. "Yes, I can, and I will." With a final push, Daniel overpowered Michael, pinning him to the ground. Amelia stepped forward, her hands steady, placing the diary and blueprints on the pier beside them. She looked Michael in the eye. "This ends now." The authorities, alerted by the live broadcast, arrived moments later, taking Michael into custody. Amelia watched as he was led away, his face twisted in rage and disbelief. The morning sun broke through the clouds, casting golden light across the lake. Amelia felt the weight of the past 20 years lift from her shoulders. She took a deep breath, inhaling the crisp, pine-scented air, feeling a sense of peace she had never known. Daniel placed a hand on her shoulder. "You did it, Amelia. You protected your family's legacy and revealed the truth." Amelia nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I couldn't have done it without you, or my parents." They walked back along the pier, the diary and blueprints safely in their possession. Amelia felt a profound sense of closure. The fire, the betrayal, the lies, all of it had finally led her here, to the truth, to justice, and to a future she could now embrace. Weeks later, Amelia established a foundation in her parents' name, dedicated to clean energy research and education. The diary, the blueprints, and the machine became symbols of courage and vision, inspiring a new generation to pursue innovation responsibly and ethically. She also reconnected with family and old friends, repairing relationships that had been strained by decades of secrecy. The experience had taught her the true value of loyalty, courage, and love, lessons her parents had imparted even from beyond the grave. And as she stood on the shores of Lake Michigan, watching the sun rise over the water, Amelia knew one thing with absolute certainty: the past could not define her. The secrets, the fire, the betrayal, they had forged her into the person she was meant to be: strong, determined, and unafraid. The lake shimmered under the morning sun, calm and endless, and Amelia felt a sense of peace and purpose she had never known. The fire beneath the silence had finally burned away, leaving only truth, love, and the promise of a new beginning. She smiled, her heart full, as Daniel joined her, and together they watched the dawn, ready to embrace the future, carrying with them the courage, the legacy, and the truth of those who had sacrificed everything for her. The past was finally behind her. The secrets were finally revealed, and Amelia Klein was free.